Research.
Research. Many consider it a buzzword, others consider it a core tenet of your medical school application. From dry lab research to wet lab research, what constitutes research is a wide spectrum of experiences. In this video, we'll be putting together a video resource detailing the ins and outs of research, from what research is, to tips to securing research, and some of the research opportunities available around you. With that being said, by the end of this video, you should theoretically be fully ready to have 3 publications in science and 4 in nature. So let's get started. Tip 1. Find your area of interest. This might seem kind of intuitive, right? Like, finding your area of interest seems like a prerequisite for research, right? However, this sometimes becomes a very underlooked aspect by a lot of students who are very eager to just get started into whatever lab they can find, leading a lot of students to have an undesirable experience and kind of hate research as a whole because of the singular experience. Now, I know what you're thinking, but PuMP, I have no idea what I'm interested in or what to look into. And this is where our good old friend, the internet, comes into play. The internet is home to a bunch of pre-existing research articles on numerous fields within the sciences. So in your spare time, it's suggested that you look over them. And when I say look over them, there's really no need to grab a highlighter or a notebook. Just read through it, make some mental notes, and try to evaluate whether or not this is something you can invest yourself into. But take this with a grain of salt. Life is very similar to research in that it is an experience to have rather than something we can meticulously plan. As you will realize, not everything can go according to plan. That's what makes life and research so beautiful. The ability to overcome and adapt. So technically, without even getting your hands in the lab, it is already too early to make judgments on what you like or don't like, as there's only one way of finding out. Tip 2. Find a lab. Now that you have more or less an area in which you want to focus on specifically, it's now time to essentially find a place where you can contribute. So for those who've seen Harry Potter, this is essentially the sorting hat phase of securing research. You'll basically shop yourself around to these different labs, kind of selling yourself as someone who can work really hard, but is at their heart very passionate about what the lab is doing. As you will realize, if you have 0 research experience, you're going to be thinking, what could I sell myself as? And this is where your creativity kind of has to shine. Think about all the positions you've had in the past, from maybe being a babysitter to putting fries in the bag. All prior past work experience can serve as the basis of what you need to accomplish in research. Research is a collaborative effort, and by being able to demonstrate your ability to work in a team, lead a team, or even have general accountability for yourself, you are already showing that you could potentially be a great fit. To find these labs, it's always great to start locally. Maybe instead of trying to DM a Nobel laureate, you can start with a professor/researcher at your local university or hospital. As I mentioned, there are 2 types of labs: wet labs and dry labs. A wet lab involves hands-on experiments with liquids, chemicals, and biological materials like DNA or cells, requiring equipment such as pipettes and test tubes. A dry lab focuses on computational work, simulations, and data analysis, using computers and software, without handling physical substances. Now, to find these labs, your local university definitely has a directory specific to their departments, which can help narrow down your choices and provide you with contact information. To be honest, it doesn't matter where you start. All research you can invest yourself into is worthwhile and important. Every lab is dedicated to making an impact, so honestly, it doesn't matter where you start. Just get yourself out there and find a group you can call home. Tip 3. Have Riz. Once you've narrowed down your choices for the labs you're interested in, it's time to actually talk to the said labs. As much as you and I are both delusional, dreaming of being a part of a lab doesn't actually mean you're a part of the lab. So this is where you're going to have to be charismatic in your dealings. Like I mentioned before, you're selling yourself as a new addition to their team. So you can either sell yourself as Tony Snell or LeBron James. The choice is really yours. This is why having Riz is important. Think about it this way. The lab is a romantic partner you are trying to court. If you want your romantic partner, it is always great to find mutual interests and learn more about them, either to impress them or maybe actually learn something for your own gain. No judgment here. So by doing research into the actual field of study that your lab is focused on, you can gain an advantage when it comes to securing yourself a spot. However, there are levels to this. You don't want to come off as creepy, so don't spend weeks on end trying to learn as many buzzwords as possible to drop in your conversation. You need to understand that these people are professionals and can smell academic greed from a mile away. To put it simply, be genuine when approaching these labs. Tip 4. Email etiquette. Oh my god, I think your lab is so skibbity. Let me phantom tax a position. This is not the way you should be contacting your principal principal investigator. As first, it's unprofessional, and secondly, it makes you look worse for the role. When working in a professional setting, it's always great to contact your PIs in a formal manner and express interest like the sophisticated person you are. Don't email your PI when they are not working, as that can also be seen as unprofessional, and they do have a life outside of the lab. If you get the chance to interview for a lab group, treat it like any other job and complete it to the best of your abilities, maintaining a cordial relationship with your potential future employer. Tip 5. Preparation. When you get into the lab and spend your time in it, you'll soon realize that as a rookie, there is a lot to learn. And the funny thing is, as you spend more time in the lab, you'll soon realize that there still is a lot more to learn. However, one way this can be mitigated is by preparing yourself for the work in the lab. If your PI assigns you readings, please look them over at least briefly to get a general idea of what is being accomplished within your lab outside of your scope. It can be really easy to isolate yourself in the lab and feel as though you're lacking / not contributing anything. However, you must understand that everyone there is trying to learn, and maybe even at a different pace, and are trying their best to help you. Understandably though, what you get out of research is what you put in. So as long as you keep putting your best foot forward, you'll get the returns that you're looking for and the experience that you've always wanted. With that being said, that wraps up this video on how to secure research. We hope you enjoyed it and expect to see all of you winning a Nobel Prize very soon. If you're interested in learning more about research opportunities and programs offered by Canadian universities, feel free to check out this playlist and join our undergraduate admissions Discord server found in the pinned comments. Thanks for watching and be sure to subscribe.